Alrighty, guys, we are going to learn how to diagram complex sentences with adverb subordinate clauses. So let's remind ourselves, what is a complex sentence exactly? Answer: it is an independent clause plus a dependent clause. Remember, clause is just a fancy word of saying sentence. So it needs to have a subject and a predicate, right? An independent clause is the main clause and it can stand alone. It is independent, right? Like you independent teenagers. You don't need nobody else, right? The dependent clause or the subordinate clause depends on the independent clause to make sense, right? So they can't stand alone. Dependent clauses can act like adjectives or adverbs, right? So what that means is if a dependent clause is acting like an adjective, that group of words is describing a noun. If the dependent clause is acting like an adverb, that means that group of words is describing a verb, an adjective, or another adverb. So today, we're going to learn how to diagram adverb clauses. So when a dependent clause acts like an adverb, okay, they are introduced by subordinating conjunctions. Well, Miss Cruz, what's a subordinating conjunction? I can tell you. A subordinating conjunction are words like after, although, as, because, before, if, since, unless, than, until, when, where, while. Get the picture? So in the example, Tiffany saw her uncle when she delivered the newspaper. The subordinating conjunction would be the word when. So that is my flag that I'm looking for. So what do we do? How do we diagram these sentences? Step one, we have to identify which clause is the main clause and which is the adverb clause. So let's go back to this example of Tiffany saw her uncle when she delivered the newspaper. The independent clause would be Tiffany saw her uncle. The dependent clause would be when she delivered the newspaper. And I know that because one, it's introduced by a subordinating conjunction, when, right? And I know it's an adverb clause because it is describing or giving more information about the seeing, right? When did she see her uncle? When she delivered the newspaper. So step two, I just need to diagram the main clause and then diagram the adverb clause below it. So boosh. First sentence, main clause, Tiffany saw uncle her, right? And then the adverb clause, she delivered the newspaper. Step three, what do I do with that subordinating conjunction, right? I need to draw a dotted line connecting the verb of the adverb clause to the word that it's modifying in the main clause, and then I put that subordinating conjunction on the dotted line. That's a lot of words, Miss Cruz. What does that look like? Just like that. Okay, so since the adverb phrase or clause was describing the seeing, I draw the dotted line connecting the saw to the delivered, and I write while on that dotted line. And that's it. Okay, now you have to pay attention to what the adverb clause is modifying, because as we remember, adverbs can describe verbs, adverbs, or other verbs, or verbs, adverbs, and adjectives. So if we look at the example, my sister can swim faster than my brother. Step one, figure out which is which. So the independent clause would be, my sister can swim faster. That sentence can stand alone. The dependent clause would be, than my brother can, because that does not make sense on its own, right? Without this first part, it wouldn't make sense. And than is my flag. So I diagram my two sentences. Now, where do I put the dotted line? I am going to draw the dotted line between faster and the can that my brother is doing. Okay, so just pay attention to that. And that, friends, is how you diagram adverb clauses in a complex sentence.